Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studio in Chicago, Illinois, it's time for Chicago Business Radio. Brought to you by FirmSpace, your private sanctuary for productivity and growth. To learn more, go to firmspace.com. Now, here's your host.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Chicago Business Radio. I'm your host, Max Cantor, and before we get started, I just want to go ahead and thank today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is FirmSpace. Thanks to them, because without them, we couldn't be sharing these important stories. We've got a great one for you today. Today's guests are the Dream Commercial Kitchen Pitch Contest winner at the Hatchery in Chicago. They are the co-founders of Dilly Provisions, and I'm so excited to talk to them about everything they're doing. Please welcome to the show Jordan, Queen, and Gilead Fishel. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Well, hello. Let's jump right in. Tell me a little bit, what is Dilly Provisions?
Yeah, so Dilly Provisions, we specialize in chef-crafted preserved goods. The focus is small batch, handcrafted. Everything is sugar-free, no additives, no preservatives. And we just take a lot of pride, a lot of passion in creating delicious, good-for-you products that are oil-free, vegan, and also gluten-free when possible.
So how did this idea come about of Dilly Provisions?
Yeah, so Gilead and I are brother-in-laws. I moved to Chicago about 3 years ago, and I've always been a long time hobbyist of pickling and fermenting and preserving. Just always been something super passionate. I've been passionate about my grandmother. We grew up in Appalachian Mountains, so it was just very much a way of life. She was very self-sufficient. She grew everything herself. So, always played around, but then, of course, the pandemic happened and I got furloughed. So I had to kind of move around a little bit, kind of, shift the focus. So I came up with this idea for Dilly Provisions. I knew I had some good recipe development, but I knew that I needed someone to kind of help bring more of a business perspective. And that's when I approached my brother-in-law, Gilead, and we just started kind of brainstorming and thought that it had some legs, and we've been making a run at it.
Now, Gilead, have you had any background kind of in like the food industry or restaurant industry, or this was all new to you?
I've dabbled in restaurant kitchens, not a ton. I mean, really the culinary expertise comes from Jordan's side, but I mean, I love food and, a little bit about our backgrounds in general. I mean, Jordan's from rural North Carolina. I grew up in a kibbutz in Israel. And so while we come from very different backgrounds, we found that we had this common set of values around the connection that we have to food and farming and sustainability. So, it just kind of evolved, and we're just been really enjoying kind of taking our passions and creating something out of it.
Now, I'm not familiar with the pickling process. Could you talk about like what goes into pickling something, and how do you guys decide what you are going to use?
Yeah. So, I mean, the pickling process, and this goes with fermenting too. I mean, the basis of it is you need an acid, usually sugar and salt. Those are the core ingredients. And then spices. That kind of makes up the general foundation for pickling. But there's so much that you can kind of build off that. We do 6 products, all very different. It all ranges from, kind of condiment based. We do hot sauces, spicy beer mustard. We offer a couple different relishes. Being in Chicago, we have to offer a jardinera relish that's fermented and oil free. And we do dilly beans and corn relish, which just kind of taps into my roots of being in the South. But, the R&D part is just, that's kind of the fun part about our name, Dilly Dally. It's not only fun to say, but it's also kind of expresses our love for food exploration. So a lot of times when we were developing these recipes, and we continue to develop recipes throughout the farmer market season, because we work with a lot of farmers and we offer seasonal rotation. So a lot of it's just inspired by what we can get our hands on locally, and just kind of, a lot of experimentation. It's a lot of things. We try it and, we're like, that's not it. And sometimes we're like, that's gold. So it's just a lot of trial and error. And then we're constantly trying to perfect recipes, tweaking here and there, but that's kind of our process.
Totally. It's interesting to hear you talk about how this business kind of grew during the pandemic, because we've talked to a couple restaurants on Chicago Business Radio, and we obviously bring up, how COVID hit them so hard. And Jordan, I know you talked about getting furloughed, firsthand. So it's great to hear you guys took this really hard time, but then made something out of it. But during that, were there any struggles that you had to overcome when getting started?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it's something that is not necessarily unique to our business. Standing a business in the midst of a pandemic sounds kind of crazy, but at the same time, it's kind of like, why not? The world is kind of turned upside down. So I mean, everything in terms of navigating, I mean, I think first and foremost, we launched our business really in front of people at the farmers market. And so, obviously, we've been masked the whole time pretty much, at least initially when the business kicked off. A lot of people are interested in sampling our products, and that's not something we've been able to do. It's kind of the typical list, supply chain issues. There was a major shortage of glass jars when we started the business, because guess what? We weren't the only ones that thought that this would be a good time to start pickling. So, it was, those are just a few of the challenges, but we're so grateful and feel so fortunate to be where we are. And, we launched in November of 2020. And we've managed to establish some really strong partnerships with some suppliers and vendors. And so compared to the horror stories we've heard from others, we feel really grateful that we've been able to move forward and execute in the way that we did last year and what we have planned for 2022.
Oh, absolutely. Now, are you guys pickling out of your home kitchen? Do you have a space you go to? Where are you guys doing this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, initially when it started, a lot of the experimenting and a good bit of the R&D started just from my home kitchen. But once we realized that it had potential, we kind of partnered up with Gilead and really decided to make build a business model around this. I was lucky enough to have a neighbor that owned a restaurant just nearby in Evanston on the North Shore. And we were able there, like their restaurant was closed down for almost a year. So we were able to get in there and do a lot of production. But as the pandemic lifted and restaurants started going back to normal, it kind of put a little bit of a squeeze, and we had to dance around their schedule. So we started looking for other opportunities. And, late last fall, Gilead was like, hey, there's a pitch contest coming up. I'm going to sign us up for it. And I was like, sure. And then, next thing we know, it's we made it down to top 5 finalists, which we were just so humbled and blown away by that. We thought we were kind of a long shot just to get to that point. And then we did our pitch in front of it was virtual, which is kind of different. But we had a amazing panel of judges, and we won, which that was we're still kind of thinking shock and on cloud 9 about that. So that's allowed us. We've actually just moved in this past week into the hatchery. We have our own private kitchen here, and it's just a total game changer for us, just having unlimited access, and just, it's going to really allow us to be able to scale and kind of ramp up our business. And we're just really excited about it.
So you mentioned being in some like small farmers markets, like store like that. Where can people find you both in person and online?
Yeah. Well, last year we were fortunate to participate and be a vendor in the Evanston Farmers Market, which has been going on for over 30 years. So we were there every Saturday, and as well as the Wicker Park Farmers Market, which is also longstanding. So, Jordan lives in Evanston. I live in the city. And so we kind of started to focus on kind of establishing ourselves in our own neighborhoods. And so those were our two major markets. We were also in a number of other ones during the week, Lincoln Square, Ravinia, and Uptown. But we have these wonderful independent shops all scattered throughout the city and the suburbs that are taking a chance and offering our products. So Raven's Goods in Ravenswood, L&M in Lincoln Square, Kaufman's Deli is a fun one in Skokie, to name a few.
Now, do you guys have any upcoming products, locations, events that you want to share to our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, we're as far as upcoming products, we have a lot of things kind of in the works. The beauty about us working with local farmers, like during the season, it really does. It's kind of allows us to do a lot of R&D, kind of testing recipes, and then hopefully perfecting those where they can kind of move into our lineup. But as Gilad mentioned earlier, he does. He has. He was born in a kibbutz in Israel, and he's got those roots. So we're definitely focusing on maybe some Mediterranean flavors. We're developing in the process of developing a harissa recipe. We're trying to make it an oil-free version, which a lot of commercial versions you get are a little heavy on the oil. So, and then just whatever we can get. When peaches come in season, we do pickled peaches, pickled asparagus. We just have so much available to us. We can kind of that's the fun part. We have our core lineup, but we have so much room to play with on the seasonal side. And I don't know. I personally, I love that aspect of it.
What would you say is the most rewarding part of what you guys are doing?
I would say real-time customer feedback and engagement. I think that's just the beauty of being in a farmer's market. It's not like you're selling online or a store, someone buys it and you never hear from them again. I mean, we see a lot of these people every week. I mean, they're very much loyalists to the markets in their neighborhoods, and they'll be very frank with you and honest. And lucky for us, we've had a tremendous amount of positive feedback. And it's great. Like without that, we feel like it would be hard for us to improve and get better. So we really are grateful to our customers.
And if people want to purchase some of your products, learn more, do you guys have a website, social media? Where can they find you?
Yeah, we absolutely do. DillyDallyProvisions.com launched on Small Business Saturday in 2020. We offer free local delivery in the city for those that can't make it out to visit us in markets or in gift shows. And we are on Instagram as well with the Dilly Dally Provisions handle, and we try to share our experiences and our journey of how we're what we're up to, and please check us out.
Well, Jordan, Gilad, you guys are both doing great work, and we appreciate you for being on Chicago Business Radio today.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
And thanks to you all for listening. Today's episode, once again, is sponsored by FirmSpace, and we'll see you next time.
This episode of Chicago Business Radio has been brought to you by FirmSpace, your private sanctuary for productivity and growth. To learn more, go to firmspace.com.